another episode of Spilling the Tea with the Henna Guys. I'm Henna.
I'm Michaela.
And I'm Hillary.
And we are ready to do another reaction video. This name is How to Dye Your Hair Red with Henna.
Yeah, and it's by Silvousplaits. I believe that's how you say it. I'm so sorry if I just butchered your name horribly. I'm so sorry.
All right, let's dive right in.
Hey everyone, welcome to this hair coloring discussion. If you've seen a few of my videos, you may have noticed that I get a lot of comments on my hair color. You may have left one of those comments yourself. Well, recently I was sent a set of extensions by AB Hair in order to do a review for them. And that video is over here actually if you're in the market for some extensions and want some insight. But they didn't make extensions in red, so I had to request a set that were blonde and then dye them red. As you can see in that video, it actually worked out pretty well. So for those of you who like this hair color and are interested in getting it for yourself, this video is for you. I'm going to talk about how I dyed these blonde extensions to this nice deep red. I'm also going to talk about dyeing extensions in general because it's a little different than dyeing your own hair. So if you're ready for all that, keep watching. Now, before we start, this is definitely not the only way to dye hair. This is just the process that I, in all my untrained bumbling about, was able to figure out for the needs of my extensions and my wallet. Using a box dye or going to a salon is another option, but I chose henna because it's cheaper, it's natural looking, it's permanent so it won't fade at all, and it's conditioning. However, there's some quirks about henna that you should be aware of before you start, such as the fact that it's very messy and it stains everything that it comes in contact with.
Very close.
It combines with your natural hair color to make a red that's unique to you, and it can react with some materials such as metal or plastic if you're including essential oils, things like that I'll talk about more later. It's also only a darkener, so unfortunately if you have dark brown or black hair, you're not going to be able to get to this level of red without bleaching your hair first. So forgive my butchering of color theory right now, but you can think of color roughly in terms of a grid where there's hue on the x-axis and lightness on the y. Henna and henna blends can take your natural hair color along the x-axis to a redder and browner hue and down the lightness scale to a darker color, but it can't go back up to blonde or lighter. It's not to say you can't use henna
way to do it.
You can still get a bit of a dark red tint to it if you applied really dark hair, but a bright red isn't going to happen. Alright, if henna's still looking good for you, let's get started. The particular product I use to dye these blonde extensions is Light Mountain Henna in red. This company does henna blends, which means they combine henna with some other dyes like indigo in order to make different shades. So that way they can offer things like bright red and mahogany, dark brown, etc. It was like $9 on Amazon for me. If you're going to use a henna blend like this, make sure you follow the given instructions in the box to a T, because it's not going to behave the same way that body art henna does. For instance, when I was doing my strand tests, I found some information on the internet that said if you use essential oils, it'll help release more of the dye when you're mixing the henna. But when I did that with this particular product, I found that it just turned it really green and then completely melted through the plastic cup that I was mixing in. Using just warm water and some nutmeg, as suggested in the Light Mountain instructions for getting a richer red, worked much better.
We should mix it with essential
So whatever
oils,
brand you get, make sure you follow the given instructions with it. Then you will need to let the mixture cure for some amount of time. This product says that you can put it on as soon as 10 minutes after letting it set, but bear in mind that the longer that you leave this mixture to sit.
She said 10 minutes?
Yeah. Then you might have additional
very interesting.
undisclosed ingredients which make it easier to apply within 10 minutes. Just because pure henna normally
needs to be sit longer, but I know because of indigo powder that contains light brown, like the light brown we use.
Yeah.
What color did she say she bought?
It was red.
Yeah, it was just red. So maybe it was like an auburn. That's the
Unless
only thing I
it
could think of.
unless it contains indigo powder, okay, 10 minutes. But even like that, that's very
Yeah.
less amount of time to let it sit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even with like just more of our henna mixes where it is like the light brown, medium brown, or auburn, that's still about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting.
Okay.
The more dye that can be released from the plant grinds.
Well,
So
and-
you may
okay.
need to leave it on your hair.
I'm still concerned about the fact that she stirred it with essential oils and it melted through the cup.
Yeah,
Like, that's kind of, I've
much-
never.
No, I've never seen that too, and I think it's because she added way too much.
Right.
Because you're supposed to be only adding a very few drops, like 1 to 2, max 3 drops in your
Right.
dye. So that still shouldn't be that much that it really went through her plastic cup.
Yeah, that's usually when something melts through like that, it's either because it's incredibly hot or that there was some sort of chemical reaction that ate away the plastic.
That too. But like I said, it actually makes sense for essential oils, and that's why it's so important to dilute them. And you should not be using too much.
Right.
And it's because that's right there. And so I'm assuming that if she used an essential oil that's not diluted, and she ended up using a lot of it.
Yeah, that I have additional
She
questions.
didn't mention how much she really used.
And just depending on what kind it was, like you said, how much was used, how concentrated it was. So, yeah.
Yeah, if you're gonna use essential oils for henna, I said max would be 3 drops. Don't put no more than that. It has to be really diluted. So adding it into your henna mixture, that helps dilute it, but don't more than 2 to 3 drops.
Yeah.
Longer to compensate for that if you still want a darker color. Since I was taking this medium blonde to this dark red, and that's a pretty big color difference, I wanted to utilize the dye in the henna as much as possible, so I let this sit for 3 hours.
Okay.
To apply it to my extensions, I laid a sheet of saran wrap on my counter to keep things neat, and then used a disposable toothbrush to distribute the henna. Other good tools are a dye brush or your own hands covered in gloves.
Yeah.
Typically, if you're using henna on your head, you'll want the consistency to be like yogurt, so you can spread it without it running everywhere. But since this is on a flat surface that's not my head, I diluted the henna a bit more, so it was even easier to spread. I also parted the hair in order to get good coverage. Remember, Simba, everything the henna touches is your new color. But if the henna doesn't seep through the hair enough, you'll have patchy hair. Once the extensions are sufficiently saturated, I wrap them up in the saran wrap, and in turn wrap that in a heating blanket on the lowest setting. Heat helps the dye release a bit more, which is why it's mixed in warm water in the first place, as well as swelling the hair.
So I know she wrapped it in a heating blanket, which I wouldn't recommend, but since this was just extensions, so it really didn't matter. But like if it's your own hair, don't use any sort of heating. Wrap in saran wrap, a shower cap, and then use a towel over it to help your natural heat do the dye release. Not that, because you want the henna to work naturally how it should work on your hair.
Yeah, and by using like that towel or whatever, that does help to create enough heat that is coming from your scalp. That's the plenty. You don't need any more.
You cool a little bit to increase dye penetration. On your own head, piling all your hair up and wrapping it will trap your body heat to help the henna, but you can also point a blow dryer at yourself on low if you want more. Just be careful not to get the henna too hot to touch, because then the color will start to break down and you'll kill the henna. Length of time leaving the henna on your head also influences how red it gets. So if you're blonde and just want to go strawberry, which by the way is a fantastic color, I don't know why I don't see more people going for it, then you can just leave the henna on for like 20 to 30 minutes. But again, I wanted to go blonde to dark red, so I left this on for 8 hours. Finally, to clean off the henna, rinse in cool water until the water runoff is clear.
It was just like the other day when we did our video. for the deep red, and we ended up leaving it on overnight.
Yeah.
How that hair became darker.
Yes, absolutely.
Versus then we came back the next day and did it in 3 hours.
Just to show the difference between.
Because it was like really dark. Some of the hair strands were really dark because we left it on overnight. So it does, the longer you leave it on, your hair becomes more darker.
Yeah, definitely.
Rather than orange. Then very gently wash the hair with a small amount of gentle shampoo and condition it. Wash.
So if you're doing, this is her hair strand, so this is a hair strand, so she did it with shampoo, which is fine, but if you're doing it on your hair, do not use shampoo. You need to use conditioner or just rinse it with water and wait for 48 hours before you shampoo your hair. You want the henna to darken naturally, because with shampoo, especially if it contains sulfate, it's going to break down the color before it even actually develops.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not by scrubbing, but by massaging and scrunching. Between the initial rinse and the next time you wash your hair might feel a little bit dry, or drier than you're used to at least. And that's because there's going to be some errant henna molecules sticking to the surface of the hair shaft, and that will be taking up the space that your conditioner normally bonds to. Henna is a conditioner, which is why your hair seems shinier after you do a henna application, but it's not as effective tactile-wise as a lot of commercial conditioners, so that's why it might not feel as smooth initially. Your hair might also be a bit bright and orange, but rest assured that the color will tone down and deepen a little bit as time goes on. And the next time you wash, you'll wash away more of the henna molecules that are sticking to your hair, and then your conditioner can sit there and then it'll feel better. With extensions specifically, care should be taken not to agitate the hair too much when you're washing it. Hair is dead after all, so any damage you do to it is permanent. Plus with extensions, any damaged hair isn't going to be replaced with shiny new stuff from your head. Additionally, a lot of extensions go through a chemical processing routine before they're sold, so that makes them weaker. These extensions just went through this process last night. And as you can see, they got significantly redder, but not quite as red as my hair yet. So if you get to the end of your henna job and you decide it's not red enough for you, you can dye again. That's how you get from a blonde to a dark red that's several levels away. And that's what I did. I mixed another batch of henna, let it sit for 3 hours, applied it to the hair, let that sit with heat for 8 hours, and then I got this, which is much closer, almost perfect match to my hair color. And you can see the difference between the first wash and the second wash hennas there. I figured out how much time I needed as well as how many applications I needed by doing strand tests first, which is when you take a little bit of hair from your head or some fallout from here, you can get it from a brush, whatever, and then you...
I'm glad she mentioned that, because again, it's so important for these hair strand tests, and especially if you are very concerned of being your hair darker in the first go, and you also have an understanding like, okay, the first time I'm going to apply it, it's not going to turn out too dark. What I want, I probably need another application, but then you know for sure also if the color is right for you or not.
Well, and I would say about 95% of the time when someone emails us saying that they didn't get the right color, like their results weren't as good, if you ask if they did a strand test, 90 to 95% of the time, they didn't. So that just ensures you're going to get the right color, and if you don't like it, then you know there are ways that you can alter the color to get it so it's perfect, and then you don't have like a full hair color of something that you don't like.
Right.
Apply the dye to that to see how it's going to turn out. And you should do a strand test too, because if you go overboard, henna is really hard to bleach out, and especially with extensions, you should never use bleach on these puppies because of how delicate they are from the processing that they went through before being sold. Finally, another word of caution. Up close on this extension, you can see a greenish black blotch on the hair. That's because there's a part of this weft clip that is unpainted metal, and this was touching the hennaed hair. Henna reacts with metal like this, so be sure to avoid any metal during the mixing and application process. This is on the underside of the extensions at the top of the weft, which is normally covered by your own hair, so I don't really care about this blotch, but you probably would on your own hair. And this concludes my video on henna. If you decide to take some of this advice and dye your own hair, you should let me know how it goes in the comments. Also, if there are any henna veterans out there, why don't you also share your experiences and your knowledge in the comments too, so other people can see the wide array of possibilities that are available with henna. Thanks for watching, and good luck with all your hair ventures.
I like the fact that she did a lot of research prior to doing it, and you can tell she was definitely very well informed. And I mean, yeah, that's she.
And they're all important factors. Like, I just loved how she really mentioned about the strand test, because that is actually, I would say, the most important of really is understanding if it's going to react to you. Because it's plant, so you want to understand that too, and understand the color, if it's the right color for you.
Well, and especially before each application, like if you're getting them from, like if you're getting your henna from different batches, try every batch out, because every crop is going to be different. So you might get different color variations, like, you know, even if the formula is not changing and it's still the same percentages of each ingredient, it could still vary, because produce and crops are never the same. Like, even if it's from like the same tree or whatever, it could still be very different. So yeah, strain and patch test. At the end when she was showing the clip and how it has like that like spot on it, I wonder how that happened. Like if it was just like being exposed to the metal like for a long amount of time, or
I think it can be if she had added the essential oil in it.
Right.
That could be one of the factors.
Or depending upon the ingredients that were in that particular batch of henna that she used, if that was some sort of reaction to that additional ingredient.
Yeah. I just have to say, she looks like the one girl from Game of Thrones.
Sansa Stark. I was thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah, she looks exactly like her. And I've actually seen some of her other videos. She does do like a lot of Game of Thrones,
like recreating hairstyles.
Oh, interesting. Oh wow. This was I mean, it was a henna video, but it was different. Like, we didn't see anyone actually put it on like hair strand.
Yeah, it was on an extension, and not only that, it was just she did her best to be as informative as possible, and that's not exactly something that we really see a whole lot of in the videos that we watch.
Yes, usually it's just there, slap it on, and we're done. So this was very informative. You know, and I always like, you should always look at like other people's, you know, their experience to get a better understanding. I mean, yes, always reach out to companies as well, whoever you decide to do henna with, which is, you know, it's always the best to do, but then you could also see like, oh yeah, this person understands and it's not hard to do or hard to understand, but your research, you personally doing it is important as well, even though like you'll ask any company or you're like, look at all these YouTube videos and reviews and all that, but always do your research as well beforehand, before doing henna application, so you know what to expect, and then being just surprised and maybe like, this is not what I wanted.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This was I like this. It was different than what obviously Freckles is his own, but like what we've been doing previously. This was really nice. I like this one. Well, we're gonna wrap this up. Thank you for watching Spilling the Tea with the Henna guys. We did enjoy the video. If you have a video you'd like us to react to, as always, leave it down in the comment section down below. If you would like us to react to a different video that you would like for us to react to, please leave that in the comment section down below as well. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time. Bye.